Today I'm back at the closest major theme park to me, and that is of course Alton Towers. And today I'm going to be rating the rides by their queue times. If the queue time is what I deem too long, I'm not going to ride it. It's a Sunday, it's the last Sunday of June. Quite a good day to come actually, because in the week there's a lot of school trips at the moment. As a matter of fact, during this time of year you're probably better coming at the weekend rather in the week, because it can get quite busy with those school trips. So I've chosen to come on a Sunday, which is normally quieter than a Saturday. It's about half full. The car park didn't look too bad. I'm going to guess it's about 50%, 40% full. And I'm just going to do a loop of the park, starting of course with Wicker Man, which was on a 75-minute wait when I first got here. So we have a 45-minute wait for Wicker Man, which is probably my absolute limit with this one. It is a good ride. It's one of the newer rides. People love it, and like I said earlier, the queue for it is normally the longest early on in the day, because it's the first ride people get to when they come here. I do wish they had a single rider. Now there's loads of talk about getting rid of that pre-show at the start. I don't agree with that. I think it's cool. I think it makes you feel like you've queued for more when you have a big dramatic pre-show. I wouldn't get rid of it, and for people who haven't been to Alton Towers before, I think it's it's very theatrical, it's very exciting, it adds to the anticipation and all that. So I personally wouldn't get rid of it. But what I would do is add a single rider line where you can skip that pre-show. Wicker Man is definitely worth a 45-minute queue, and that queue was exactly 45 minutes, and that included the pre-show. So it was 45 minutes from the back of the queue line to the station. It is a good ride. It feels faster than it actually is. You get a lot of airtime. I'm out my seat for half of that ride. The only reason I wouldn't wait longer is because of the ride duration. It's not very long. I would say I'd wait longer in the evening, because at night you've got all the fire effects and stuff, which does certainly add to it. So I'd wait an hour for a night ride on Wicker Man. When I said earlier that there was talk about getting rid of the pre-show, that's nothing official from the park or anything. I mean talk on the internet. There are some regulars and ride enthusiasts who say, get rid of the pre-show now. It just slows things down. We've all seen it. And I completely disagree. It's a good pre-show, and what makes Wicker Man special is all the bells and whistles on it. The ambience, the story, the theming, and the pre-show just adds to that. And for people who've never been, it would be a shame to take that away from them. So in my opinion, they should put a single rider queue on Wicker Man for people like me who just want to get on the actual ride and want to skip the pre-show, and then everyone's happy. And it means that people who've never ridden it before, never experienced, the whole shebang, aren't robbed of that pre-show and that ambience.
Within the containment zone, we have implemented
now you may have noticed,
security measures.
I've teleported. We're now going to Forbidden Valley.
Security fences.
Now, annoyingly, when I was in the queue for Wicker Man, it had the highest queue in the park. The Smiler, Nemesis Reborn and Toxicator were all on 20 minutes, and I hope that's still the case, and it is. So is Nemesis Reborn worth a 20-minute queue? Absolutely it is. It's worth more than that. Controversially though, I probably wouldn't wait longer than 40 minutes unless it's a really, really busy day, because it gets people through really fast. The only travesty is that they got rid of the single rider queue. When they retracked the old Nemesis and made it Nemesis Reborn, they got rid of single rider. I was absolutely gutted, but you didn't have to wait at all for that. And I'm going to bet that this queue is actually shorter than 20 minutes. I'm going to time it. I think we're going to get a few rides on Nemesis today.
Strength and control, more like lies or control.
So I ended up waiting 50 minutes for my ride on Nemesis Reborn just then, and that's because it started experiencing some intermittent downtime. It's only running 2 trains because it's about 40-50% full today, but they were stacked in the station. So we ended up waiting half an hour longer than advertised. It is my favourite ride in the park because it's a classic. If you've never ridden it before, I'd say you can wait an hour for it, but that's only if it's a really, really, really busy day. But just remember, it's short and sweet. Last time I went on Toxicator, you did not get splashed in the face. People are getting splashed in the face this time. Oh no, it's gonna be me. Despite how cloudy and grey it looks, it's actually quite hot today, so I wouldn't mind being splashed in the face. And I'm a girl, I'm used to it. Also, when I came for opening day of Toxicator, the overhead splash hazard was not a hazard, and now it really is. Oh, I'm getting dripped on. If you walk under here at certain points during the cycle, you could get drenched walking out under here.
All research teams, experimental compound synthesis will commence in certain...
Well, 15-minute wait, can't complain. And I think I'm going to be quite cheeky and go single rider as well, because it's empty.
To the phalanx.
Welcome to the Toxicator program. Please proceed along the centrifuge platform, leaving no gaps between you. Ensure you secure all items such as hats, keys, coins and glasses, or else they may be lost or contaminated.
I really like Toxicator. It's so fun. I hadn't been on it since it had the new cycle installed where you actually get wet. My feet got soaked and my tummy got soaked. So two really awkward and uncomfortable places to be wet. I think last time I was here, when it had just opened, I was kissing its ass a little bit too much. I was even saying, is it better than Talican? No, it's a different experience, particularly when you're getting sprayed. But Talican probably is a bit more intense in hindsight. You get about 6 full flips, I think, on Toxicator. And you get splashed 3 times. Well, I got splashed 3 times. It kind of depends where you sit. Thankfully, though, it's like 25 degrees today, so I've already dried off. So for Toxicator, I'd say if you haven't been on it, you could probably spare 40 minutes to queue up for it, particularly if you're with your mates, because it would be such a laugh. However, if you're someone that gets a bit nauseous, doesn't like being dizzy, or perhaps you're on a first date and you don't want to get your makeup smudged, maybe no minutes. You shouldn't have to wait much longer than that though, because this is the point of, you know, flat rides. They're high capacity. So I think 30 minutes is reasonable. I know there'll be a lot of people that probably don't like the idea of Toxicator. No, my maximum for Galactica is probably about 30 minutes, if that. However, it does have a single rider queue now. So I waited 17 minutes to go on Galactica there in the single rider queue, that's fine, that's reasonable. I don't tend to go on it that often anymore. I think the novelty of it being a flying coaster is kind of worn off now, and there are far better flying coasters out there these days. In Fantasialand, for example, you've got Fly. The other thing with Galactica is I think the excitement kind of wears off when you enter the second half of the ride. Obviously when you first get in your harness and then you're facing down towards the ground, it's a bit nerve-wracking, particularly for someone who's scared of heights. I mean, you are forced to look down on Galactica. But yeah, after that, it's quite intense when it starts, and then I think it just kind of peters out. So for me, I said 30 minutes earlier, I think I'm going to say about 15-20 minutes max queue time for me. Now you might be wondering, as I'm doing a kind of how long should you queue for each ride, how long would I queue to go on the Sky ride, which is great to see back open, by the way. But when it comes to queuing for that, 0, no minutes. I'm not scared of rides, roller coasters. I'll go on pretty much anything. But I am scared of gondolas. I don't really like Ferris wheels. They give me the heebie-jeebies. And these things really unnerve me. I still go on them when I'm with my mates, because my mates always want to go on it. And then they'll rock the gondola and I'll freak out. Not only that, I like walking, and I like getting my steps up when I go to theme parks. It's my exercise for the weekend. And Alton Towers, you've got the gardens. And I'm going on a bit of a magical mystery tour. No surprises really that Rita is closed. It's been closed since the start of June. This is now the last weekend of June. It's a Sunday. But it is closed for essential maintenance, so that says there on the sign. And I saw some bloke doing something to it over there. However, this makes 0 difference to me, because Rita, I will only go on it if it's walk on. Sorry Rita, I feel really bad about that. 15 minutes at an absolute push, again if I'm with friends who want to go on it, but for me it's a bit of a letdown. It's got a really, really good launch, don't get me wrong, and obviously it's a hydraulic launch as well, like Stealth. So the launch is punchy, the launch is good, and then it just peters out to nothing. I'd really like to see them do something else with this area. Imagine if they replaced Rita with something like Taron, like a very low to the ground, terrain hugging multi-launch coaster. It would mean we'd have to submit to it probably being an LSM. Hydraulic launch coasters, they just don't make them anymore. That being said though, it is a shame that it's closed, because a lot of people still love it, and launch coasters scare people, they're nerve-wracking. It's all about the anticipation with launch coasters. So it's a shame that it's closed. Hopefully they'll be getting that open as soon as possible, because it is good to have in the mix here at Alton Towers. And it also means that the dark forest area is always really quiet. You've only really got 13 here now, which is on 35 minutes. 13 is definitely worth a 35-minute wait. The only problem with 13 is it has got potentially the worst queue line in the park because you can't see anything. The whole ride is a secret. On Wicker Man, Nemesis, and even Air, you know, you can watch the ride go round while you're waiting. That being said though, hallelujah, it has a single rider queue. And the staff are normally on it on 13. I love 13. It's such a great ride, and I waited 1 minute for it in the single rider queue. I was the only person in the single rider. But I'd say it's worth queuing up for even 50 minutes for that one. I might be a bit biased because I just love it so much because it's different. But even just then I was sat next to someone who clearly hadn't been on it before. And when we went into the indoor bit, I'm not giving too much away, or trying not to anyway, they were like, is that it? Is that it? Because you have quite a nice jaunt around the forest, and the first drop is underrated. It's actually quite steep. And you've got a few bunny hills, which are really quite pleasant. And then you have the surprise. And people who aren't expecting it, I love seeing their reaction. It gives me so much joy. And that's why I think it's well worth a 50-minute wait if you've never been on it before. Perhaps more around 30, 35 if you have. Or you could just do what I did and go in the single rider. I haven't queued up in the main queue for ages now because a single rider is just so efficient. It's shaping up to be a real success of a day here at Alton Towers because Hex was closed when I first arrived, but it looks like it's open or opening now. Although I'm not so sure by the way these people are coming out. I'm going to ask this lady. I spoke too soon. Hex was closed. It definitely was open because when I was walking to Dark Forest I saw quite a few people queuing up for it, but I just asked the lady and she said, yeah, it's closed. I haven't been on Hex since last October when it reopened after a long period of downtime and they put a new lighting package on it and stuff, which isn't as good as the last one. It's a little bit too bright and colourful. It's like a rave in there. I preferred the more nuanced lighting package they had before. But Hex, I think, is worth 45 minutes for me, particularly as I haven't been on it in a long time. I'd queue quite a while for it, just to get back on it. And if you've never been on it before, it's well worth doing. It is a madhouse, it's a Vekoma madhouse, and it is the best Vekoma madhouse. Certainly the best I've ever been on. It's the story, it's the ambience again. Alton Towers are so good at leaning into the darker theming and making the most of its history. Would I stand in line for 35 minutes to ride Oblivion? Hell no. That's not to say though that it doesn't have the best drop on any dive coaster, but that is all it is. You only have the drop. You take something like Baron, for example, at Efteling, you've got an inversion and there's lots of theatre and a bit of a pre-show. Oblivion is just the drop. It is all about anticipation. So if you haven't ridden it before and you want to experience the best drop on any dive coaster, then it's probably worth a 20-minute wait, I'd say. And it is often on a 20-minute wait. I'm surprised that it's 35 minutes today. Finally then, I'm going to head over to the Smiler, which I've just checked, is on 30 minutes. So it's on less than Oblivion. Is the Smiler still worth a half an hour wait? Yes, it definitely is. I'd say probably an hour maximum for me, because it has got rougher with its old age. It can be a bit uncomfortable at times. But it is one of the headline rides here. It's an absolute marvel. Look how much they've managed to pack into such a small space. It really is an iconic ride, so if you've not been on it before, I would say half an hour is reasonable. The queue for the Smiler still reaches 2 hours sometimes on busier days, which seems insane. If the Smiler's knocking on 2 hours, I'd recommend getting a fast track, maybe just a one-shot fast track, or try the single rider. Operations are good on the Smiler, and the single rider tends to knock about half an hour off the main queue time. So if you're happy to ride on your own, then absolutely go for the single rider queue to ride the Smiler. So that's it, it's the end of the day. The park closes in about 7 minutes, so I'm gonna head home. The only ride I didn't mention was Spinball Whizzer. I didn't have time to get to that ride because I didn't actually arrive here at Park Open. I showed up about midday today. But Spinball Whizzer, good family coaster. I'd say it's worth about a 15-minute wait. It's fun with your friends. It can feel quite intense. It's quite funny. So that's the end of this video. I'm going to walk back to my car now, because if there's one thing I do not queue up for, it's the monorail. I'd much rather walk. I think it's quicker. I don't think I've been too controversial, but if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, then let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time.